Welcome to Queen City News Plus. I'm anchor Brian Blakely, and my partner is not here today, Chief Legal Analyst Khalif Rhodes, because normally for order in the court he would be here, but he is now wrapped up in court doing a trial for a short period of time right now. But we do have three segments that we picked out for you for your viewing pleasure and your legal viewing as well. So take a look. We're going to start right here in North Carolina. Khalif, as we know, 1 month ago, Irina Zurutska was stabbed, just a brutal stabbing on the light rail. It's created national headlines here and a lot of political issues, public safety issues going forward. And a lot of folks are trying to right a lot of the things that have come up over the last a month or so. One of those now legislative leaders in North Carolina want to make it tougher for suspects involved in violent crimes to be released before trial. And that proposal would take oversight away from local magistrates on creating release conditions that includes no longer offering cashless bail. You, my friend here, being a former head magistrate here in Mecklenburg County, have unique insight into a lot of these type of situations. Talk to us a little bit about that.
As the former chief magistrate, I can tell you that there are a number of problems, potholes, and issues with this proposed legislation, modifications, recommendations, amendments to legislations. We try to be everything for everybody in life, and sometimes legislatures, members of the General Assembly, try to create a bill that does everything for everybody. You have this scenario here where this young lady was terribly, brutally killed, and now everyone's trying to rush to find the solution because there had to be a problem, right? And in this scenario, the solution is, first of all, let's blame it on the magistrate, that the magistrate that made the selection was in error, outside of her jurisdiction in terms of what she should have done. And because of this, if she just would have followed the process or the rules, this would have been avoided. But if you look at the facts, that's not exactly what happened. So this individual was arrested on a misuse of 911, given a written promise to appear. I bring that up because that portion, when I say trying to be everyone and have a all-encompassing law, that's listed in here. Misuse of the 911 tape and his written promise to appear. Okay, we want to get rid of being able to use written promise to appear for all cases. Now, think about it. We have folks that are arrested for things like, defecating in public, urinating in public, riding the train improperly, not paying your fare. There are a number of things that you're arrested for. And our statutes require that a judicial official, which a magistrate's a judicial official, a judge, a justice of our court, our Supreme Court, and a magistrate, they're all judicial officials. A judicial official will have to set the least restrictive, not the most, but the least restrictive means when setting conditions for release. So in our state, the least restrictive means is written promise to appear. So what they say, we don't like this scenario, we don't like what happened, we're going to get rid of your ability to use a written promise to appear. So what's next? A unsecured bond. So does that solve the issue? I'm letting the person out regardless. They're not paying anything to get let out. So an unsecured bond is just like a written promise to appear. They only have negative effects if the person doesn't appear. Now, if that person doesn't appear and you have a written promise to appear, all right, that's not good. We don't have anything to hold over them. But if they miss and they have a unsecured bond, now once they're arrested, it will be a secure bond and it will be double. But they still didn't pay to leave, so it doesn't make us safer. It doesn't make the community safer by removing this written promise to appear. It's just now taking one of the many things that magistrates and judicial officials that set conditions for release would have done in the past. Now they won't be able to do that. And so it's limited their ability, which will now allow have a secondary effect, which is you're not allowing them to hear certain cases. Anything that's violent, you can't hear. So now these violent cases will be heard by a district court judge. Well, now those district court judges, their dockets will probably triple. And our jails will sit there and become overcrowded because of this scenario that was a rush, quick attempt to fix a solution where, yes, there were some things that went wrong, but I'm not sure if that portion of it went wrong.
Governor Stein supports this new legislation going forward, as many do, trying to, this reactive type of legislation that's trying to fix these issues. If, in your opinion, what would you do?
What I'd say is have proper funding for training. I do believe that in our state, magistrates should have a law degree. So that's something that's not required. So that's something that if you're going to require that they have a law degree, take the funding that you're going to throw at having more district attorneys, ensure that you have proper funding to pay adequately people that would have a law degree. The reason why you have folks that don't have a law degree becoming magistrates is because the pay is not appropriate for someone that's went to law school and has a six figures worth of debt. If you're attempting to pay someone $60,000, $65,000, most folks aren't jumping at that because you can make that at Amazon warehouse, without a law degree. Those are the types of things that if you start saying we want to have people to have legal training, you have that. I mean, because when you become a magistrate, they send you to magistrate school. That's 2 weeks in Raleigh in UNC Chapel Hill, I should say, at the School of Government. But it's not law school. So not having that legal and analytical thinking, that thought process that you learn in law school, it definitely helps to have that. And so I can see, if you ask what would I do different, I'd ensure that all magistrates are attorneys and that they have the training that's necessary to do these types of things and the funding and money to support it. So I wouldn't get more DAs. I'd get more magistrates that are licensed attorneys.
Okay. And then as far as internally here in the city of Charlotte, we're going to see a little bit more security on CAT's public safety as we're going forward, trying to create a much safer situation as far as public transit and also for fare enforcement as well.
Well, what I can tell you, Brian, is that the job of a judge, when you are making determination, is the question of do I detain or do I release, right? So what also is wrapped up in here is this rebuttable presumption. There's a rebuttable presumption now that every time it's a violent crime, that no bond could be set to keep the public safe. That is a major change. So now, even if you wanted to let them out as a magistrate or as a district court judge, you can't unless now they can overcome that rebuttable presumption. And I say they. The impacts on the due process will be this. There's not an attorney arguing for them in front of the magistrate. They're going to be standing there as a lay person attempting to figure out how they can maneuver the system to say, there's no rebuttable presumption, I should be out. But you won't be able to overcome that because you don't have the legal training. So now you have a non-attorney magistrate listening to the case and a non-attorney defendant trying to figure out how you can overcome the rebuttable presumption that's hanging over the magistrate's head before they can decide to release on these type of crimes. And there's limited amount of violent crimes that they can look at. So I think that safety is at the forefront of everyone's mind, but we also got to remember what due process looks like. Remembering that everyone that is charged with a crime is innocent till proven guilty. Yes, this one scenario right here is the most horrific thing you could ever imagine, but it's not the norm. These type of scenarios don't happen all the time. And so now what we have is we create a law that's going to have all the time impacts with a one-off scenario.
All right, welcome back to Queen City News Plus, and we're talking about a couple other cases here. One, both of them local. One of them really has been a big talker here in Charlotte, and that is the dog that was left in a hot car during a hot day on June 7th, 91 degrees officially, and a woman saw the dog in this truck in Cornelius in a parking lot in a shopping center in Khalif and wanted to give it water and wound up giving it water. But the police did not react favorably to it. So let's go ahead and listen to this first, and then we'll talk about it on the other side. Here's the exchange that we have from the Cornelius police.
That's fine. You're being videoed as well. So what right do you think you have to open someone's door?
I already told you, I don't think that I have a right, but all I said was that if there's a dog on a 90 degree day locked in the car panting, I'm going to give it water.
You have no right to do that.
Okay, you've already told me that.
I don't understand what you don't understand about this.
No, I already said I don't have a right, but you just want to keep arguing with me about it.
I do, because I have a lot of education in this.
I completely understand, yeah. But when it comes to treating animals humanely, I feel very passionate about that as well. So like I said, I guess it's a crime I'm willing to commit.
705103996. Just because you see a dog panting doesn't mean it's in distress.
Okay, it's 90 degrees. I think a lot of people would disagree with you too. I feel so very strongly that animals deserve the utmost respect, and that we should treat them, similar to human beings. We would never leave a child or even an adult in a car on a 90-degree day with the window rolled up. So,
all right, there you go. What do you think, Khalif? After listening to that, being an animal lover myself, it irks me to sit there and watch somebody react that way. But there's a legal aspect out of this. What is it?
I am 100% probably going to throw you a curveball with this one, Brian.
No.
I
couldn't hit a curveball in my baseball days. I don't think I'm going to hit one now.
You were definitely a good baseball player. Make no mistake about it. You probably can hit this one. It'll be a soft curveball. So here's the thing. I am for, assisting. I'm for protecting, but I'm not for, violating another person's property. I'm just not. And I don't think the law is for that. The law is extremely big on trying to find ways to make sure that we don't create this vigilante type of justice. Now, vigilante justice looks a number of ways. It could be, you've hit my child, so now I'm going to come to your house and hit you or shoot you, right? And then the other side, in this situation, I see something in distress. I'm going to be a good Samaritan and go and stop that from happening, right? The law doesn't want people taking those incidents in their own
Even
hands.
for a dog in a hot car that is distressed, according to her, Suzanne Bella is the person, and clearly the dog in there at 90 degrees. And you talk about
what the court would want you to do, what the law will want you to do is call authorities. Like in both scenarios, in the scenario with the
she did call authorities. She called
but
one
without acting. So what the law would want you to do is say, you know what? You just hit my child. I'm going to call the police, and they'll come and arrest that person. Because what we don't want folks is saying, I don't need the law. I'm going to take it in my own hands, and I'll just come over there and beat you up. So now you come back and beat me up. And that's what happens when you have that vigilante justice. It's the same way in this situation.
That seems kind of harsh, though, for a woman who opened up a car door.
Hey, she's meeting.
And gave the dog water. Vigilante justice.
So watch this. There's 5 different elements to breaking and entering of a motor vehicle. And one of them is break, however so slight. Don't have to break. It can just be the opening. So she would have hit that box. The other portion is the property of another. It's not her property. She's done that. The only element that she's missing, and that's the reason why that officer didn't charge her, because he wanted to charge her with something. He's probably reading this. In North Carolina, we have this elements book. He's probably turning pages of elements book to try to find. It's called the crimes book. It's huge. It has all the list of all the elements that you need to charge somebody with a crime. Guarantee that guy is like, okay, try to find something to charge her, because the only charge that's applicable is that breaking in a motor vehicle. But it has to be with the intent to commit a larceny therein. A larceny. But the law doesn't want you opening other people's cars, because guess what? If that man would have came out and shot her for breaking in her car, he would have been justified. You know why? Because you can defend your property if someone else is trying to take your property. So she comes outside, pulls the door, I'm in the car, and then this guy walks out at the same time. And he don't know he's trying to save her dog. He ends up shooting her. What happens in that situation?
Those shaking my head.
Those are the things that the court is why they don't want people to do this. Because what you want to have is officers to show up. Like this guy, this officer shows up here. Say if she called the police. The officer shows up. Then the guy comes outside. Well, he's not going to start shooting at the police because he knows, hey, an officer's here. They're opening my door. But a random person opening your car door, he would have came out and would have been justified to do that.
I see that. He did come out there, and
he
was
told her mind her business.
They told her mind her business.
But
she was not happy about it.
Brian, that ended better than how the court anticipated. Because typically, especially the stories we read in law school, it don't end like that.
And we've seen those cases. Sure, we've reported those on the news for sure.
Normally, it's guy comes out, sees somebody doing their property, get off my property. The person saying something back, and then they hurt them. That's why the court doesn't want self-help.
But the court of public opinion on this is just there's
through the roof.
Backlash is through the roof.
It is.
It's right.
It is.
Against the officer and against the guy for leaving in, because the officer didn't do anything until this was not going to do anything to that guy. And then now that everyone's come out in such a backlash, they're going to investigate their training procedures, how do officers handle things in their conduct on certain situations like this, and they're possibly going to charge this guy with animal cruelty.
What I can tell you is typically they're not going to charge a person with a crime if the officer doesn't see it. So in North Carolina, we have the ability as individual citizens to take out criminal charges against another person. Most states don't have that, but North Carolina's a state. So this woman could have filed a police report like she did, went to the master's office and attempted to take out some type of charges against this individual. Typically, if it's a felony level, a law enforcement officer would do that. In terms of their policy and procedure, was he stern with her? Was he kind of being a jerk with her? But I mean, it could have been worse. She definitely close to trespassing this man's property. I mean, it's a number of things that she's like right there on. And so that's why that officer you could see he was looking for a reason to arrest her. And I don't want that either. I don't want a person to randomly
you don't like
arrest.
That,
I don't want you randomly arrested just because
officer looking for a reason type of thing.
Right. I don't want him just because he don't like you, right? But he didn't like her. He didn't like her comment. She didn't like him. her back and forth with him, like, okay, well, there's people that could disagree
because
with
she
you.
could not believe that this guy had no sense of humanity, but he's going by the law.
What he was saying is, and he probably was agreeing with me, which is, lady, that's not your car. And what he was thinking is, probably they've instructed them, when you get these type of calls, we'll come out, we'll handle it. Best scenario would have been for her, videotape it, see the dog in the car before she opened it. So then they could have had some evidence to support the charge of cruelty to an animal. So then she didn't even record it till after, right? So now all you got is evidence of you breaking into this man's car, because it's not your vehicle. So you have a video of you.
I
in
have
this
two
other
wonderful
person.
dogs at home alone, and I'm just such a dog lover.
I
So
like
I'm
to-
sympathetic, maybe not to the law. And
I
how
like
this
to
is
think you would
interpreted.
leave the dog in the car, though, right?
No, I would never leave it.
And guess what? The law would appreciate that. The law
Yeah.
wants you to do those things, but when certain folks don't, they don't want you to say, you know what? I don't need the law. I'll handle this on my own. So the biggest portion of the story for me, because I looked at it and I was like, I got what people were frustrated. The biggest portion is the legal aspect is we don't want to encourage our own helping system. Now, on the other hand, say if it was like a dog on the side of the road and she's hurt, and now this lady goes out there to try to save the dog or something. Yeah, we have protections in place for good Samaritans in that case. Not in this property. It's on the side of the road. You don't have a duty to protect or go save the dog. But then if you do, say if she ends up trying to save the dog, because this is a law school one that happens a lot, ends up trying to save the dog, and then all of a sudden she ends up hurting the dog. And so the dog owner's like, man, you tried to save my dog, but you hurt it, and then sues her.
You lawyers,
Right.
These all kind of
But you know the
scenarios
crazy
like this
part?
is nuts.
Before we had these protections, these good Samaritan protections, people were getting sued for that. Hey,
Right.
man, I tried to help you out of the car and I ended up breaking your arm. And then you sued me because I broke your arm. That type of stuff happens.
I get it.
And
I
you're like,
understand
well,
your point now, and
no
I
good
see
deed
it a
goes
little bit, but I am
unpunished, right?
not going to believe in it all the way wholeheartedly as I pound the table here.
Listen, I can tell you, this lady right here, I do commend her for standing her own and not backing down. She 100% has won the court of public opinion that if this was a jury trial, she would win by a landslide, because the dog owners are at an all-time high. People are frustrated with processes, so she's checking multiple boxes. And we're in the middle of this heat freaking dome thing that's happening.
Oh, yeah.
And so she's like, she knows it's overemphasized. Even though it's 90 outside, probably was like 110 in the car. So everything in her instinct was, okay, I want to save this dog. But call the police. Cornelius ain't that big. She called Cornelius police. They probably would have been here in a minute and a half, to get from where their station is to right that location where she was at. Because I've been to both, and they're not far apart.
All right, I got it. We'll leave it there for right now on that one. And welcome back to Queen City News Plus. Order in the Court right now with Khalif and Brian, and we are talking about our third topic today, some great legal topics that are happening around the world. And one of those is really kind of global, a viral sensation, and that is the Coldplay Kiss Cam, where a CEO...
Sorry. I didn't know. I thought we were...
Well, let's go ahead and play that there. Here we go. Here it is. Yeah. So that is the CEO there,
I tried my
ducking out
best
of
to
cover.
do my rendition.
And that is his employee who works for the head of the HR at Astronomer, who is married. He's married, other people,
Yeah.
and caught on Coldplay Kiss Cam. And that was an affair that, we don't know if it was an affair,
Right.
but we know they were busted right there.
Yes.
He's threatening to sue Coldplay for showing that video and what also Coldplay said, which was, hey, was that an affair or did we just get someone being shy? What do you think?
When I saw it the first time, I was, my mind went to straight AI and like, is this real? Like, what is happening? And then as the hours, because it was like in real time, as the hours,
Cringing.
I was like, okay, this is real. And then the outlaw, it just spiraled out of control. I think it went downhill with his response and a number of other things as well. But I think the question presented is, does he have a chance at filing a lawsuit?
And that's my question here. Fair or frivolous when it comes to CEO Andy Byram, who resigned along with the HR person there too?
I'm not big on percentages. I usually don't try to use the crystal ball, but I can say that there is absolutely zero chance zero chance that he would be successful in any lawsuit against Coldplay, against the arena, the stadium where it was at. I don't know what the basis would be, but any basis would be based on zero. Let's go with a couple of things. He's got three potentials, right? Invasion of privacy, very low. Defamation, extremely
You're at a public
low.
event that he signed a waiver to get into, right?
And emotional distress, very low. So first one, invasion.
There was emotional distress, no question about that.
100%. So you got the invasion of privacy. I think there is zero expectation of privacy, as you mentioned, at a public event. You're not having it. And
these have been going on at sporting events for a long time.
And you signed the waiver, and you knew what you were walking into. Defamation, I mean, the standard for defamation, even if he wasn't a public person, which he is because he's a CEO of a publicly traded company, but if he wasn't, just the regular standard is you make a false statement that you know to be false. Well, there was no false statement, and it was not known to be false. So I don't even know if that would be even one that he would consider. And then the last one is that emotional distress. So typically it's going to be intentional infliction of emotional distress or negligent intention of emotional distress. I think that is the only one where it could be that you may have a chance with negligent infliction of emotional distress, and it would be against Coldplay. But here's the thing. It has to be the conduct has to be extreme and outrageous. Their conduct isn't extreme and outrageous because, as you mentioned, if you've ever been to a sporting event, if you've ever been to a concert, you know they're going to have a kiss cam there. And so that's not extreme and outrageous. And if they were doing stuff like up skirt cams, yeah, that probably would be extreme and outrageous.
Yeah.
But doing a kiss cam, that happens all the time. I think that the emotional distress, intentional or negligent, both will be off the table. But I think, this has run wild. Like,
all the
minds,
memes, we're seeing some of those right now.
their minds, their imagination has run wild. I mean, and you talk about a couple of things. If anything, he needs to lawyer up to ensure that he has a job going forward. Yeah, you resigned. But how did you resign? They gave you the opportunity to resign, but did you leave with a golden parachute? Did you, because most of these companies will have some moral clause.
Some sort of code of conduct.
Yeah, you can guarantee that the moral clause in his contract that would void any type of severance pay would say that cheating on your wife or getting caught in some type of affair, having being where you've now tarnished the name of the company, anything like that would be grounds for them to terminate. And so I think it's laughable that he think that he could file a claim. I mean,
grasping at straws comes to mind, or something like that. Yeah.
We're a litigious society, though, so folks are always finding ways to sue. But Brian, let's go back to this. If you look at his apology letter, he kind of tipped his hat there. Hey, I'm sorry. Sorry I got caught. Sorry this happened. Apologize to my wife. And
look at all the people that are around him, too.
Right.
They're in his suite right there. There's so many people. So it's not just at a public concert just by themselves. There's a lot of people around him that are together.
Some people were probably
work with.
Some of them were probably complicit in this affair. But I can say the last paragraph of his letter, Brian, he blamed Coldplay. He said, hey, I'm outside. I wish that it didn't happen like this. You know, I'm expecting some privacy. And so he tipped his hat to probably his frustration. But normally in these situations, cooler heads prevail. Every time that artwork pops up, it makes me laugh. But cooler heads prevail in situations like that. This is something that it's probably better to just let it disappear into the wind as opposed to trying to make up a lawsuit that is not there. And look at my Phillies. They're out there. And you got these teams
Philly
embraced
fanatics.
it. You got the fanatic, doing it.
So many memes all over TikTok and everywhere and X making fun of this whole situation. But unfortunately, a couple of families and a company has suffered. They've been wrecked by this. And a PR crisis also for the company Astronomer.
It's a PR crisis, but Brian, I think they're all looking at it from the wrong way. We're in the era of cancel still, right? Cancel culture's there. But we're also in the era of viral and monetization. Like, there is a way that he can come out still on top. Maybe not the CEO of a company, but some way you spin this and ensure that you land on your feet. And then be as excited to land on your feet as the people were around him when they recognized that it was a real affair.
Maybe you just found a job as his next PR crisis counselor moving forward.
My word for sure would have been don't send out that apology letter and scratch any type of idea of suing Coldplay because you have zero chance.
Well, he had a bunch of lawyers probably looking over that too. So, yeah. Well, thanks, Khalif. And you've been watching Order in the Court here today on Queen City News Plus. Appreciate you watching.
Queen City News Plus. Just search Queen City News on your smart TV's app store.